We're about to get into one of the biggest mysteries out there, and it's an incredibly personal one. What exactly are you? And believe it or not, the answer is literally written inside your atoms. So you've probably heard that old line, right? That every 7 years or so, you're a totally new person, physically anyway. Every cell in your body has been replaced. But, have you ever really stopped to think about what that means? If all the building blocks are different, are you still you? Yeah, this isn't some new age question. People have been wrestling with this for ages. The ancient Greeks had this great thought experiment for it, the Ship of Theseus. Picture this. You have this amazing, famous ship. It's so important they keep it for centuries. But over time, the wooden planks start to rot. So they replace one, then another, and another, until eventually not a single one of the original planks is left. So, is it still the Ship of Theseus? Well, guess what? That ancient puzzle, it's not just a thought experiment. It is literally happening inside you right now. You are a living, breathing Ship of Theseus. But before we get all philosophical, we need to ask a really basic question. Is the whole idea even true? Do we really replace all our parts? Let's dive into the science. So we're back to this popular myth. And it's a nice thought, right? This idea of constant renewal. The problem was, for the longest time, scientists had no clue how to actually check it. Think about it. How on earth do you figure out the birthday of trillions of individual cells inside a living person? It seems impossible. But the answer? Well, it came from a place no one could have predicted. Get this. The breakthrough for understanding our own bodies came from the Cold War. Seriously. The nuclear arms race, in one of history's weirdest twists, accidentally gave scientists the perfect tool they needed. It basically created an atomic timestamp inside every one of us. Okay, so here's how it worked. Back between 1955 and 1963, all those above-ground nuclear tests were pumping huge amounts of a special kind of carbon, carbon-14, up into the atmosphere. Then, in 1963, the Test Ban Treaty was signed. The tests stopped, and just like that, the amount of C-14 in the air started to drop, slowly and very, very predictably. What that created is this graph, which scientists call the bomb pulse curve. You see that massive spike and then the long, slow fall? That curve is everything. It essentially became a global calendar. Why? Because the level of carbon-14 in the atmosphere for any specific year after 1955 was totally unique. It was like a fingerprint in time. So how does a calendar in the sky get into our bodies? It's actually pretty simple. Plants breathe in this carbon-14. We eat the plants, or we eat the animals that ate the plants. It gets into our system. Then when our body makes a new cell, it uses that carbon to build the cell's DNA. And here's the magic trick. Once the DNA is made, it's locked in. It doesn't change. So it permanently holds the carbon-14 level from the exact year that cell was born. It's like a tiny atomic birth certificate. Okay, so now scientists, like a team led by Jonas Friesen at the Karolinska Institute, had this amazing tool. They could literally take tissue from a person, measure the carbon-14 in the DNA, and then look back at that bomb pulse curve to find the exact birth year of those cells. For the first time, they could answer the 7-year question. And the results were not what you'd expect. So when they crunched the numbers, at first it looked like the myth was true. The average age of all the cells in an adult body, somewhere around 7 to 10 years old. But, and this is a huge but, averages can hide the really interesting stuff. Think about it. The average of the number 1 and the number 99 is 50, but neither of those numbers is anywhere near 50, right? The same is true for your body. The reality is way cooler. Check out this range. The cells in your gut, they're brand new every 5 days. Your skin, gone in about 2 to 4 weeks. Your red blood cells last a few months. Your skeleton actually does take about 10 years to replace itself, which is probably where the myth comes from. But then you get to the other extreme. Your heart muscle, it hardly replaces its cells at all. And the most important ones, the neurons in the main part of your brain, they're with you for life. And that is the big reveal. The most critical planks of your ship, the ones that store your memories, your personality, your consciousness, everything that makes you, you. Those neurons are as old as you are. They are never, ever replaced. So the core of who you are physically has been there from the very beginning. So the science is kind of a mixed bag, right? Parts of you are constantly changing, a whirlwind of activity. But the part that you think of as you is incredibly stable. And this brings us right back to that big philosophical question. What does that mean for who we are? Are you a thing? Or are you more like A process. Okay, let's break this down. For a long time, the main way of thinking about reality was that it's made of things. Substances. A chair is a chair, a ship is a ship, and change is something that happens to the thing. But there's another way to look at it, called process philosophy. This idea says that reality isn't made of things, it's made of events and processes. A classic example is a river. A river isn't a static object, it is the continuous process of water flowing. Its identity is the action. Now, if you look at it that way, it completely flips the Ship of Theseus paradox on its head. The constant replacement of the planks isn't what makes you question if it's the same ship. It's the very thing that keeps it the Ship of Theseus. It's the same for you. The constant renewal of your cells isn't a threat to who you are. It's the process that maintains who you are. The identity is the process. So maybe the big takeaway is this. You aren't your cells. You're not the individual wooden planks. You are the ship. You are the incredible, dynamic pattern that all those trillions of cells work together to create. The stuff changes, sure, but the pattern, the structure, the process of being you, that's what lasts. Okay, so if we're this constantly changing pattern, what keeps us feeling like a solid, continuous person? In the sea of change, what are our anchors? Well, it seems like there are a few key things that give us our sense of self. First, there's a material anchor, those brain cells that never get replaced, and of course, your unique DNA that acts as the blueprint for the whole operation. Second, there's a formal anchor. This is the pattern itself, the program that is you, which keeps running and maintaining your structure. And last, there's a narrative anchor. This is the story of your life, the memories and experiences that you've stored in those permanent brain cells. And that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If you really aren't your physical parts, but the amazing pattern they create, then what exactly is defining that pattern? What's the organizing principle that takes all these temporary bits and pieces and keeps them forming the continuous experience of you? Now that's a question to think about.